Hi everyone, it is day 49 of my live 77-day video challenge, Heart and Soul with Evelyn. Now I am going to continue on with my flight attendant training story. I was talking about yesterday how we flight attendants had a special sort of language. I think all industries probably have a special language where they use acronyms or they use interesting words that only the people in the industry know. So I just wanted to share some of those words with you. So for instance, well, the big one was non-rev. And what does non-rev mean? It means that as an airline employee, we're flying standby, non-rev, which means we're not paying. So we're at the bottom of the list as far as getting on the airplane. If people have paid, they'll get on the plane, and if we're just going to be standby, we're known as non-rev. Another word that we familiarly used was jump seat. That was, of course, the retractable seat that we sat on. However, sometimes as a flight attendant, we would need to get from one point to the other, and if there were no seats available to non-rev on, we could jump seat. There was an additional jump seat on the plane that was free. We could, as long as we had our uniform on, we could sit in the jump seat pretty much to get to our next destination. And I know this sometimes confuses people if you see a flight attendant sitting on a jump seat and she's not serving the passengers. So most of the time whenever I did jump seat, I didn't do it too often. I would just make sure as soon as the seatbelt light turned off, I would not continue sitting at the jump seat. I would just kind of get up and stand in the lavatory. Because I have seen flight attendants sit at the jump seat during a service. And I've often wondered, it's like, I wonder if they're jump seating. So I hope that makes sense. Another word that is particularly used is turn. What is a turn? So that would mean, for instance, I would fly round trip somewhere. I wouldn't spend the night somewhere. When you spend the night somewhere, that's called a layover. So you'd lay over at, you just lay over at a town. But if you were just flying to San Francisco and back, that would be considered a turn, or fly to wherever. It'd just kind of be a round trip. You'd be flying from your base, going to another place and coming back, and pretty much sleeping at your home at night. Then, of course, we had crew rest. That was where we would, if we flew for a certain amount of hours on an international flight, we would get crew rest, meaning for back in the 80s, in the 90s when I flew, it was the last two rows of seat in a 767, and then curtains would be put around us. It was pretty ridiculous, really. Nowadays, most long haul flights, they do have a cab, an area where you could go and can actually lie down. But what we had to do is we had to just go behind these curtains, which was really ridiculous, to tell you the truth, because we still could hear everything. But I was pretty much programmed. As soon as I knew I was on crew rest, I'd sit there, I'd close my eyes, and I would be out. So I kind of was programmed for that. Another word that we had was briefing, and that meant that before our flight, we would meet with other flight attendants, and we would, find out the special meals we had, the special passengers we had, as far as anyone who needed to be wheelchaired onto the flight, or if we had any distinguished guests, famous people, we would also sort of know who was on the flight. So that would be at our briefing, which would be before the flight. Other words, we had demo, of course, is when we did our little airplane mask dropping down. That was our demo, and we had our demo kit where we had a seat belt and a little air mask coming as well, and that's what we would do our demo with. The galley was the kitchen. Secure the cabin. And that would often, you'll hear that now. A captain will say, please secure the cabin. And that would just mean that all safety procedures were done. Everything was locked in place in the galley so that when we took off, that no any equipment would roll out, and also was also to make sure that the doors were armed or disarmed, depending on, well, secure would mean that they were armed. And of course, there were other ones. Crash pad is when some flight attendants, they would have a crash pad, meaning they would be laying, based maybe in Atlanta, and they'd have a crash pad there where they just spent the night. Maybe there were like 10 flight attendants who lived there, and that would be their crash pad. Another one that we quite loved was called Senior Mama. So everything in the airline has to do with seniority. The longer you've flown, the better schedule you get, the better trips you get, the better time you get off. So if someone has been flying for a really long time, we call them a senior mama. So I never got to that status, but a lot of my friends who I flew with at the beginning who are still flying, they would be considered senior mamas. So I think I might stop at that. So I just wanted to share with you some of the airline lingo. If I have any flight attendants who are watching this, share with me any other sort of airline lingo that might be sort of new. Now, this is airline lingo that I remember from the 90s. I think my favorite one was really senior mama. I loved that. I just love the word mama, actually. And I miss my mama. I do. She's in Florida. But anyways, that was probably my favorite word. Oh, deadhead was a big word too. I forgot to mention that. That was a huge a word that a lot of people would get confused on. Don't even have it on my list. But deadheading meant that you as a crew would be flying on a flight with your other crew members, and you would not be working the flight. You'd obviously be sitting in a seat, and you'd be going to your destination. Maybe a crew went over time, or they just need another crew at another area. So it's not starting from a base. So you would deadhead, meaning you're all in your uniform, and you would get on an airplane, you'd have a seat, and you would be going to a base where you'd have to start your flights from. So I hope that is a little bit interesting. And I see that my Tanta Karine is watching. Thank you so much. I'm at the end of this, so yay! And there's a huge explosion. Oh, I'm so happy that you are watching right now. And for those of you watching a little bit later on, please leave anything in the comments. Like it if you'd like. That like button or the love heart button. I like the love heart button. So yes, this is Evelyn. This is day 49 of my live 77-day video challenge. And you're listening to Heart and Soul with Evelyn. Until tomorrow. Bye, Tanta Karine.